But I know we want to get moving because Steph still hasn't eaten dinner, so we want to...
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Right. I've been drinking this wine, and it feels like it's dinner now, so... I have 5 almonds next to me, so I'm good.
You put your rations out for the show?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, no worries. She's just having some alcohol on an empty stomach. It's, no problem.
I mean, it's what you do when you podcast. I think it comes with the territory.
I had a hard day of teaching one class, so...
Well, now hopefully we'll be the ones teaching you something.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, we'll drill you with a bunch of questions that you don't care or want to answer.
No, that'd be great. I'm hoping that you convinced me that I liked the movie in retrospect.
We will do our damnedest, that's for sure. Hello and welcome to another episode of Bry Guy and His Super Friends. I'm your host, Brian Labick. Joining me this episode, we do not have Mike Romano, but we do have Mike Bradley.
Hey guys, big news, 150th episode coming up. We do have Bry Guy and His Super Friends Challenge Jeopardy coming for this episode. So, fellow hosts, fellow guests, whatever the hell we're called, show up for it, take the challenge, try and win. We revealed last week, pre-show, one of the categories. I don't think it actually made it into the show, so I will reveal that one and another category tonight to whet your appetite. Last week, I told Brian and Andy about our first category called Potent Pottery. The second category I will reveal tonight is called Cruisin'.
That's it?
Oh, that sounds sexy.
See, he is picking the very general sense of a category, so we still have no idea what the hell to research for any of this crap.
I will tell you, those are both very specific categories.
Okay.
When you hear what the category specifically is, you will understand. But before that, I'm sorry, I cannot help you.
That's fair. Back again, Josh Zorch.
Hi.
And the award for Best Unprepared Intro goes to... And finally, I've been waiting years to say this, but it's Doc Brown herself, Stephanie Brown.
Yeah, I didn't know we were supposed to prepare intros either, so I will also just say hello.
Normally they don't, so Mike got caught off guard.
And I'm wearing my Doc Brown sweatshirt just for...
Oh, nice! See, I don't even realize that. So you came prepared. You're totally in this.
Yeah. For the podcasting audience, who can definitely see my sweatshirt.
All right, so this episode... I don't know where that accent came from. Basically stemmed from Steph and I talking about how we needed to find an excuse to get her back on the show. Steph, this is what, your third time, I think, on this show?
Yes.
I don't remember.
Oh, yeah, it was X-Files.
X-Files, that was the first one. Okay, yeah.
And then Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
I remember that one.
Yeah, that was an oldie but a goodie. So after we went back and forth for a little bit, she suggested that she was finally going to give in to some peer pressure and subject herself to the Lord of the Rings trilogy for the first time. And I was like, hey, you know what? That's great. That fits the category that we've done only twice and never really revisited. So this will give us a chance to come back to the Never Seen That segment, which I'm pretty sure we still don't have a theme song for. So that might be something we need to do at some point.
Josh, you're the theme song guy. Get on it.
I'm on it. Yeah, check. Got it.
All right. So for anyone unfamiliar for what we do for this is basically an excuse for us to get someone to watch something part of pop culture that they haven't seen for some reason, and then we can see what they finally think after they're coming around to it. So, Steph, hopefully you enjoy being the center of attention because most of these questions are going to be all directed at you.
I'm so nervous.
So ideally, when we've done 2 of these in the past, we record before we watch said thing, and we'll talk about where people were at before that, and then we'll watch the movie and then regroup after and talk about it. Now, since we're doing this remotely, we don't have the option to... Well, I guess we could have, but it takes more time to record and then let her watch the movie and then record again. So we're just recording after she's already seen the movie. So Steph has officially watched The Fellowship of the Ring. I will go on record and say she actually did not watch the extended edition of this movie.
Sorry. I watched it on Netflix.
Yeah, we were talking about...
All right. That was going to be one of my questions, was like, yeah, how did you... Like, what what copy was it? Like, where did you get it from, et cetera, et cetera?
Because I think I suggested, like, hey, you should probably watch the extended version, and then she was texting me, like, oh, I found it on Netflix, this is great. And then I was like, wait, is it the extended? And she's like, I don't know, how long is the extended? This is 3 hours. And I was like, wait, I think the other one's longer.
I was like, this must be the extended version. It's almost 3 hours long.
So I don't think you had any idea what you were getting into when you signed up for this.
No, I don't think I realized it was such a long movie. How long is the extended edition?
Right around 4.
Yeah, I think it's
not a
45-ish.
I thought when everything was all added up, that when we did the marathon that day, it was a little over 12 hours. Like,
Steph, I texted you the minutes. I know I texted
it's
you the minutes.
It's,
it was like,
I want to say Fellowship Extended is slightly over 3 because I'm fair. Like, I'd bet a lot that Two Towers is 3.5.
I thought the whole thing was 12.
It steps up from like each of the chapters in as it goes on get longer and longer. So it's close to 12.
I know Return of the King is like 4 hours.
It's 4 hours and 10 minutes. But it's a good 4 hours and 10 minutes.
You might have to with that argument.
This is actually good because there's questions that I could derive from a version that might not have as much supplemental information, as another version, and there's things that we can sort of kick off from that point. So it'd be
interesting what's in the extended one that's not in the regular one.
Right.
Yeah, extended Fellowship is 226 minutes.
What's the math? What's that?
So that's
3 hours and 46 minutes.
Yeah.
Really?
So it's like an hour longer.
Christ. Yes.
Wow.
So you might have missed out on a lot of movies so far already.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Where, if I was like, because I don't want to have to buy the DVD. Is it on iTunes? Like, is the extended version like on iTunes?
I'm sure you can find it those places. I never actually looked. Because I have the Blu-rays of the extended, so I never actually have to go look to see where they are available to watch at.
Yeah. Well, for the next one, if we do the next one, I'll look and see if I can find the extended one.
That's fair. All right. So before we actually dive into the movie, Steph, I just want to start with like a baseline. Like, what did you know about Lord of the Rings prior to watching the movie? Was there anything from pop culture that you were able to grab?
I mean, so much, because people talk about Lord of the Rings all the time. I mean, I watch Big Bang Theory. They talk about Lord of the Rings constantly on the show. So it was like just snippet. I mean, like people reference that film all the time and the books all the time. So it's like I knew about Gollum. I knew the line of like one ring to rule them all. I knew who was in the movie. I knew that there was like a lot of cliffs, which was true. I think I feel I probably had a sense of what happened in the first movie, but I have no idea what happens in the rest of the movies. Okay. And I knew like the character names. When I was watching it, I texted Brian and I was like, "Oh, hey, that's meme is from this movie that like one does not simply walk into
the Sean Bean meme."
I was like, I know Sean Bean, that's his name. Yes. The other one's Viggo Mortensen, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I got him. So I knew that stuff. Yeah. I mean, I knew it like won a lot of awards. I played the theme. We played the theme in band in high school.
I should have had that message ready, really but she was like live tweeting me like Josh, like you like to do when you listen to the podcast. Yeah. She was texting me as she was watching it because I was like, well, I can't be there with you to watch it with you, which is normally what I like to do because it's if you're in the room with someone watching the movie and they give some sort of visible reaction to something, I sort of make a mental note like, oh, okay, I could ask them about that later, which I couldn't do because we weren't watching it together. So I figured if she was texting me that at least I'd have an idea of stuff that stuck out to her as she's watching, and that was the one thing was like, oh, we played this theme song in band. So I was like, yep, sure, I bet you did. Yep, that works.
Did you remember in advance that you had played it in band, or you haven't thought about it in a long time? Or,
no, I hadn't thought about it.
Or at the time, did you not know what it was?
Oh my god! I knew at the time we were playing the Lord of the Rings theme, but like I had just forgotten about it, and I was like, oh hey, I remember playing this in band. We played like the Harry Potter theme in band too.
Oh, so you played all the good stuff.
Yeah, my band director was into movie scores.
Nice,
I guess
it's a good thing to play. It's recognizable. It works.
Yeah, so I knew that. I think that's about it.
And to be clear, too, you hadn't read the books, right? No book reading for these. Okay.
No book reading, no movie seeing. And yeah, every couple of years people would be like, you've never seen Lord of the Rings, but you're like a pop culture scholar. Like, it's a major piece of pop culture. You should just see it, even if you don't want to see it. And I was like, I guess. It's so long, though. So yeah, I'm not like a high fantasy person.
Okay, so that's the hurdle.
So that was my hurdle, yeah. I was like, I don't know. There's like dwarves and elves and goblets. I don't want to see it. Actually, there weren't as many goblets as I thought there were going to be.
I expected the subtitle of the movie to be Fellowship of the Goblets. There's a disappointing amount of lack of goblets.
Steph, have you done Harry Potter? Read or seen the movies?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I love Harry Potter. Like, I've read all the books a million times.
Okay.
I've seen the movies a million times. Like, I'm a deep diver in Harry Potter. And I don't know why I like that, but it's not. I think it's, like, more, I don't know, more tethered to our world, maybe, and that's why I like it.
Yeah,
okay.
I can see that.
It's more of a coming-of-age story with, like, magic.
I'm trying to think of, like, other popular fantasy things from pop culture that...
I mean, it's more books than movie, but...
Yeah. I don't know, something else that
Willow.
Willow, yeah.
I mean, I like Buffy. That's kind of fantasy, kind of.
That had a fantasy sci-fi
tethered to the regular
type of thing to it, yeah.
I think because I was trying to like piece this out like as this weekend. I was like, okay, what kind of fantasy do I seem to like? And it does seem to be things where it's like our world, but with like a little magic added to it.
Okay.
Whereas like things that take place in completely other realms, I'm not usually a fan of. Like I kind of like Game of Thrones, but I'm not like super into it.
Okay.
That's probably like the only real good parallel I think that's strong out there, because I think otherwise you get into like Arthurian legend type of stuff. Like it's hard to go back to, I think, something that has been very widespread through modern television or movies that really was on that scale, that was sort of that same like alternate medieval history type of feeling, but happens to have these other, supernatural elements built in. There's plenty of stories and I think novels and stuff to draw from, and folklore type stuff, if you will. But yeah, I think Game of Thrones is really maybe the only other thing that got as big in even the last couple of decades to make a good comparison.
Yeah, and I don't like his like stuff that takes place in the time period that looks like either. Like I'm not a huge historical fiction fan either. Even though yes, I know this Middle Earth is not real, but like things that like take place in like medieval times, I also am not a huge fan of.
Okay, gotcha. And we sort of talked before we were recording, but like, were there any other type of geek related genres that you otherwise avoid, or you pretty much? We talked a little bit about the Marvel movies and stuff like that. Like, I've seen
most of the Marvel movies at this point, and I like them. I mean, I don't automatically not like superhero stuff.
Okay.
I like it. I'm much more, and I like sci-fi much better than I like fantasy. And so stuff I haven't seen sci-fi related is just because there's so much television and I haven't had time to watch it. Like I want to watch Star Trek, but I like don't have CBS All Access.
Oh yeah.
And like a lot of the X-Files.
So it's more sci-fi TV and not as much sci-fi movies?
I'm trying to think of what sci-fi movies there are. I don't intentionally avoid them. Usually if I haven't seen something, it's just because I have...
I mean, the big one off the top of my head is Star Wars.
No, but I haven't really seen much of Star Wars. I've seen like 3 of the Star Wars movies, but I think the like black and white, good and evil, like, I don't know, thing, I don't love as much. I feel like Star Trek is more nuanced. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah, I got you.
So you'd be more into sci-fi movies along the lines of like Fifth Element, Blade Runner, things like that?
Yes, but I haven't seen those either, but I want to see them. It's not because I don't want to. It's just because I forget and so I haven't watched them.
Well, if you ever need an excuse to watch them and want to talk about it. I have been
very consciously thinking that I need to watch Blade Runner and Fifth Element and a lot of those movies. I just haven't. Yeah. And now with like the demise of the video store, if something's not streaming, it's like hard to...
I think Blade Runner's streaming now. I think it's on Amazon Prime.
I'm going to look it up.
You talking about the new one? Like the original or the new one?
The original.
Okay.
They have the new one. They should also have the original. I'm going to write that down.
The original you really rarely see streaming on services, but I've seen it somewhere recently, I know. I can't remember. I have all the different ones that I use. I just can't remember which one it was actually on.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw 2049 somewhere as well. Either Hulu or Netflix.
Yeah,
I think Hulu. That for this
I think that's on Hulu.
Okay. No, I'm definitely going to watch that.
Feel free to send us a list of all the stuff that you need to get through, and we'll slowly get you down there.
There's so many. I think I would actually I'm guessing I would really like Blade Runner if I watched it.
Yeah, if we did that one, I mean, we could even... There's only 2 of them, so if we wanted to, we could just do... Like, you could watch both of them. We'll just talk about both of them.
Yeah, definitely watch the older one first if you want to understand everything in the newer one.
For sure. That's what I heard.
Yeah, at this point, I would just like an excuse to watch 2049 again, so I'm down with that. Of course, that's another 3-hour-long movie, so you have to buckle up for that one, too.
If I like something, I don't mind sitting for 3 hours and watching.
All right, so I think that's as good a segue as any to get into what you thought of this movie.
Yeah, so I didn't love it. I tried really hard to like it, though. I went in with a good attitude. But yeah, it wasn't my thing.
So what specifically sort of stuck out to you that took you out of it, I guess?
I think my main feeling was I was just bored the whole time. It felt like a lot of setup, which I think is because it was a book, and books are more about description and world building, and it doesn't necessarily translate maybe for a movie if you're not already into the idea of the world.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh my god, it's like an hour and a half in, and I feel like we've just gotten to the main point of what they're trying to do.
That is correct.
Yeah, that's fair. That's absolutely fair.
I was like, okay, they're going on a journey. Yeah.
They call it a fellowship. That's great. But if they would have just put that word journey in. Well, I would say this off the top. I personally did not read any of these books of Tolkien's whatsoever before I ever saw any of these movies for the first time.
Okay.
After I saw Two Towers is when I really got hooked. Fellowships felt like homework to get to the next better part of everything.
Okay.
That being said, once you get through all of this, since we just mentioned the word journey and whatnot, do not go back and watch The Hobbit.
Okay.
I think I said that about 4 times when we were texting back and forth. Just avoid that.
I'm glad we weren't starting with that, because there's no way in hell you would probably even finish the second one in that series, let alone want to get to this, which is far superior in terms of movies.
So did you like the Hobbit book, but not the movie, or do you just hate the whole Hobbit situation?
So I don't, Brian, Mike, you guys tell me if you did this, because growing up, I feel like there were a lot of people I know, who in middle school or high school, The Hobbit was part of the class. At some point in English class that got assigned as curriculum, and that was part of school.
I had the same English teachers you did, so.
Well, I didn't ever have it assigned.
You didn't?
No.
Did you take
so
AP?
Yeah.
Pretty sure that's when they assigned it.
Well, not mine.
Don't worry, Josh. I didn't read it either in high school.
But, and that was the thing, I'm kind of, I don't know, I ended up being, so I read Lord of the Rings first, after seeing all 3 movies, and then went back and read The Hobbit, and I ended up liking, even though Lord of the Rings is 6 times as long as a novel, I liked it a lot more. I actually kind of found the story of The Hobbit not as engaging, and I think the movie reflected that at the base of it, but then they made the mistake of turning one book into 3 movies.
Yeah. Yeah, because The Hobbit's not that long, is it?
No, it's average novel length.
Yeah.
And it's not even bloated Harry Potter, not bloated, I would say. It's not even a really long Harry Potter length. It's not like Deathly Hallows or Order of the Phoenix. They could have probably made it 2 movies without not that much fluff. But they made it 3 and just went off the frickin' rails.
Okay.
What I will say, in my experience, is that generally, people who aren't fans of the series already enjoyed The Hobbit. And people who were fans already either were on the fence or didn't. So, in her case, she may actually enjoy it, just based on what I've seen out of other people.
Fair enough.
And That's not a case defending the movie. That's just or anything like that. That's just saying, in general, I think it's a much more moviegoer friendly type of experience, at least to start. It's
talking
not
about the Hobbit movies or the book.
The first movie versus Fellowship. I feel like the first Hobbit movie engages you quicker into what all is going on.
Okay, yeah.
Its hook is there. Whereas I feel like in the original 3, the hook is really in the Two Towers.
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, and to, like, bring it back around to the movie we're actually talking about. Yeah, I think you're not alone in thinking that, in feeling that Fellowship felt, like I said earlier, it felt like homework, and it felt like a big setup for everything else that comes later.
It's like a prologue.
Yeah. Yeah, and
that's why I was wondering what hour they cut out of it.
Well, I would actually, it would require me to go back and watch the normal version again, because it's been so long since I actually watched the short version of it.
Same.
Okay.
To remember which parts aren't in the extended version that are left out.
Okay.
Or which parts aren't in the normal version, rather.
I would say I don't think it's something that I would get through the whole trilogy before you would ever consider going back to maybe experience the extended edition. In my opinion, the extended edition, especially of the first 2, what extra you get adds value and enhances it once you know everything. Once you've seen A to Z, the extra that goes adds a little bit more charm to certain characters, or fleshes out I don't say a subplot, but fleshes out the significance or impact of a certain arc of the story in better ways. But
that makes sense.
Like, to go back and do it right now, no, you'd probably think, like, why am I watching 45 minutes more of everything that I didn't enjoy the first time?
Actually, if it fleshes out characters, though, like, because in my, I've come up with, like, my theory of movie going, where, like, some people are characters people, and some people are, like, plot people, and some people are world building people, and I'm very much a characters person, and so I felt like the characters were really one-dimensional, so maybe if, like, the extra fleshes out the characters a little more, I'd actually like it more than I did.
I would say it definitely does. I think, at least what I took from Fellowship's extended version, and, like I said, it's been a long time since the normal version, but I'm fairly certain it does a really good job of fleshing out the motivations that some characters have better. Specifically, if I remember correctly, the Lady of the Wood.
Got it, yeah.
It gives her a lot more depth in the extended version.
Oh, see, I think that'd be interesting. Because, I was like, why was she in this movie for, like, 10 minutes?
as big as that,
Actresses,
that casting was. Yeah.
Do you get more Boromir in Fellowship, or is his more of his backstory in other movies? I don't remember where.
I feel like that's in Return.
Yeah,
like, I know there was some there, but I don't remember.
You get a couple extra cutscenes where he has, like, I know there's specifically a little exchange that there's an exchange that him and Aragorn have. They're already on the river canoeing. They've already left Lothlorien. While they're on the river, they're showing you, I guess, what you'd call a flashback to, like, the night before. And there's a little exchange between the two of them, and I feel like there's moments. That's what I'm saying. It feels like there's moments while they're in certain settings that get extended and get stretched. It's not necessarily like whole massive entire sequences.
Got it.
And that's what sort of helps with some of the characterization. But from what I remember, the books are exactly the same feeling in that. It's really hard, in my opinion, to get through Fellowship as a book. It's really difficult. And so, like, there's like 3 other subplots that they cut out of Fellowship that like don't even get mentioned whatsoever in the movie. Like, it could have been even longer.
Not to mention, Tolkien went off on what felt like chapter-long sequences describing the family trees of different hobbits that you did not give 2 shits about and that he never talked about again. And, you know, it's something that when I read Fellowship now, I skip the first 100 pages or so because I don't need to read them again. I don't need any of it. You know, I might read the first 10 pages and then skip the next 90. Just because those first 10 pages are pretty awesome, and then it's just kind of Tolkien seems like Dickens. He was just being paid by the word for a while there, and then you just cut in and you're like, okay, this is where we can pick up the story. We don't need this before that.
Well, I got a good question. So rather than just, you know, saying how hard and difficult it was to watch it, what did you find yourself gravitating toward, if anything?
Let me think. Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, I just wanted to know more about everybody. Like, I texted Brian, I was like, did they explain, and I just missed it, why Frodo is the only one who seems to be able to hang on to this ring without, like, becoming a shithead like everybody else does when they're close to it? I was like, I don't know if I just missed that, or if that's explained later, but I was, like, really interested in that, and I felt like I didn't.
That's a little bit of both things that you said.
Yeah.
a little bit of missed, but a lot of the explained later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think the extended cut offers any of that. I feel like that's definitely more the next 2 movies.
Yeah.
Are going to get more into that for you.
Yeah. Because, I mean, relationships between characters is always the thing that I am the most interested. I like relationships between characters and I like character arcs. Like, those are the 2 things I really gravitate towards in films. And so it does seem like a thing where I have to watch the whole trilogy to get the character arcs, and this is just the beginning of that, and so it's like hard to latch on to anything.
But are you not already in love with Samwise?
Which one is that? Is he the
Sean Astin?
Rudy.
Oh, am I supposed to be?
I think a little bit by now. Yeah.
I think he's he's supposed to be the endearing one.
Oh,
he is the heart of those movies.
Yeah.
Oh, he's kind of cute. He couldn't. It felt like he was letting him drown a little bit too long.
Right?
That's a fair point.
I gotta save him. Seems like he's been underwater for quite a while.
and also he somehow slips underwater, like 13 feet of water, even though he's just in the shallows by the bank.
He's a hobbit.
Lay on your back. Are hobbits denser than people?
They're shorter. They're a lot shorter, so it's not 13
from, like, hey,
feet
the
of
water is around, like, my navel, to all of a sudden, like, the bank dropped off like a cliff somehow, and, like, oh, I went from here to I'm completely 17 feet underwater.
And it's like,
that does
happen. Can't swim, like, you still float. You don't just, like, collapse down into the water. Like, you can't swim. Yeah, that was upsetting.
I
was the most irritating thing to me is that there's like 2 women in the whole movie. I was like, really? There's no women who live in this whole realm except for this one elf?
I figured that was going to be a hurdle. Yeah.
Yeah.
That gets better.
I can only think of one other women character later, though.
It's significant, though.
Right. She plays a big role, but
yeah,
that's it that I can think of.
Well, this was also wrote in 1930 what? Or
yeah, I get that
whatever
too.
year it was. I don't even know the year that it was.
Were there no women in the 1930s? They still existed.
Are you sure?
I'm not saying anything about women not existing. I'm just saying the general climate surrounding that whole thing is changed since then.
Yeah.
And
but yeah, that's a hurdle sometimes where I'm like, oh, dudes talking to each other. and it's like, and the women who are in it are like white and like have all these halos around them, and they're like just there to be like, I don't know. They're like, where the cameras like linger on them. I mean, I'm a gender women's studies film professor. Like, this is what I notice when I watch a movie. So, yeah, that was like, it's fine. I mean, I understand why it's like that, but it's hard for me to connect to it. I feel like, because of that.
So what character stuck out to you the most? In like, who did you like, you know?
I mean, I liked all the hobbits. Yeah, they're pretty fun. And I liked Viggo Mortensen's character. Except that I felt bad because I kept getting him and Sean Bean's character mixed up. Because they look very similar throughout the movie.
Well, at one point,
there was like
I just want to jump in and say, at one point, Steph thought Dumbledore was in this movie.
I know, I felt really stupid. I was like, oh yeah, that's Ian McKellen. What? I forgot.
Okay, so the actor, like, you did not think that was supposed to be Dumbledore.
No. Oh my god, there's a crossover? And Dumbledore's in this movie? I mean, he's a wizard and he looks just like Dumbledore.
Yeah. She was I noticed Dumbledore and I noticed Agent Smith. I was like, you're half right.
Agent Smith, yes.
Then I was like, oh no, that's Ian McKellen. I forgot that was who that was.
So, fun fact, after Richard Harris passed away, after the second Harry Potter movie, they actually did approach Ian McKellen to possibly take that over.
I don't think I knew that.
Maybe that's what
I'm actually really glad that didn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot for him to do, because he ended up doing this trilogy. He came back and was in at least one. I only watched the Hobbit movies once because I couldn't stand them. So I know he shows up at least in. No, he's in all three, isn't he?
He's in all of them.
Yeah.
So he's in all three of those. He had at that point, like, he was basically doing X-Men and Lord of the Rings at the same time for several years.
Yeah.
So I can understand why he wouldn't want to jump into yet another franchise that at that point would have had a 5 to 6 movie commitment.
Yeah.
But,
don't forget his epic turn in Da Vinci Code.
Right, yeah.
I haven't seen those movies either, but I read the first
Spoiler.
book.
What, spoiler, he's in them?
He said turn. I thought that gave something away.
I think you gave it away a lot more than I did.
On it or whatever, yeah.
That's fair. I didn't know. Spoiler on me, then.
It's like it's an acting jargon.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's forgivable. Well, but
I felt stupid.
So
and then I was like, oh hey, doesn't oh my god, now I forget his name. What's his face play Bilbo Baggins? I was so confused
Martin
for
Freeman.
a second. Martin Freeman, yeah. I was like, wait, I thought Martin Freeman was Bilbo Baggins, but that was in a different movie.
in the Hobbit movies as the younger
For half
one,
a second,
yeah.
I thought they had aged him up, and I was like, oh no, this is a different. He's probably still in the office at that point.
I wonder if they'll ever do that in a movie. So, because so far they've done, so take whatever Michael Douglas and some others. They have de-aged people to show them at chronological or historical points in the past when they're supposed to be playing a younger version of themselves chronologically. But have they ever aged an actor in advance?
Oh.
So that they then play a younger version of themselves in a later version. So, like, if Martin Freeman had been cast in the late 90s to play Bilbo Baggins in these, only to then play the younger version of that same character 10 years after they age him up to play the older version.
I can't speak to what they filmed first, but chronologically in the movie, in A League of Their Own, you see Gina Davis as an older woman before the younger woman.
Yeah, I think it's happened within movies, but not...
Yeah. And is that really Gina Davis?
Yes.
Yeah.
Playing the older version of her own character?
Yeah. It wasn't Lori
Really?
Petty, but it was Gina Davis.
That I did not know. All right, so that we're almost there.
And hell, they brought Peter Cushing back to life for Rogue One.
Yeah.
So.
See, my initial reaction was they aged up Haley Atwell for Peggy Carter in Winter Soldier.
Oh, yeah, and the beginning of Ant-Man.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But was that before the TV show?
That would have been around the same...
I mean,
Well,
it definitely was
but she
after
had already
Carrie.
played Peggy Carter in the first
Right.
That's
cap,
true.
so...
Yeah, okay, so that's still...
Yeah, that would take a lot of foresight.
Like, we're not just going to cast an older person. We want you later. So 8 years from now, you'll play a role, but we want you to play the role at your current age, but like 30 years older than you are now. Let's figure that out.
My favorite is when people who were famous when they were young are in movies and they have other actors play their younger versions of themselves, and we're like, we know that's not what they look like when they were younger, because we know what they look like when they were younger. I'm only thinking of that because I just saw A Simple Favor, and they had Blake Lively when she was like a person playing Blake Lively's character as a teenager, and I was like, we know what Blake Lively looks like when she was a Gossip Girl.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, good for her. Exactly what she looks like now.
Yeah, exactly what she looks like now.
That's true, yeah.
They probably didn't need to cast anybody different. They could have just like put her, like, do her hair a certain way, put her in a certain type of clothes. She could have played her teenage self.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
I feel like they have done that with actors before. Had them play their younger selves.
Depends on the movie.
Without a whole lot of, change.
So where are we at with the characters?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Trying to bring us back around here.
We've gotten onto A Simple Favor. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So what was the first time you can remember thinking they should do something soon to make me care about what's happening?
The first time?
Yeah.
Sounds
like it happened several times.
I think the problem is that it's like, and it's not probably not fair because I'm seeing this movie 17 years after it came out. So like it's in the ether. Like it's hard to go back and see a movie freshly when it's been out for so long.
Right.
I just felt like, okay, there's like evil. They're on a journey. I've seen this story before a million times, whether that's fair or not. So I think I was like looking for them to say something new about that kind of a thing. And that's not fair because this book came out in the 30s. Like it was before probably all the things I've seen where that kind of a story happens. But that I think was my roadblock.
Yeah, I guess if you're expecting them to do anything really outrageous that differs from the books, that's not going to happen.
Yeah,
not that you know how the books go, but
yeah, so much of storytelling that we have today is drawn off of what Tolkien did back then.
Yeah, exactly.
There's so many influences it's had, so it's tough to expect that, but I get what you're saying, because you've seen so many iterations of that storytelling to go back to it now.
Yeah, so it's hard to do that. So it's like, like the way when they get really close to the ring, they get like evil. Reminds me of the Horcruxes in Harry Potter, and like the way that they're like going on a journey reminds me of like every movie. I don't know, there's like so many journey movies. So I think it was hard to get out of the mindset of like, I've seen so much storytelling that is based on this story. I just am watching this after I've seen all the things that have come after, like have been based on that.
Yeah,
it's fair. So as someone who's like not just a person who likes to watch movies, but obviously someone who is quite professionally invested in it, and like has that critical eye, was there anything from like a filmmaking perspective that, so like, let me frame the question in this way by giving another example. I happen to think that, through the course of the Harry Potter movies, they, like my thesis on it, if you will, is that they did an extremely terrible storytelling job many times in terms of discontinuity, plot holes, subplots that they introduce that go nowhere, that are never resolved or anything. Was there anything, at least through this first part of the chapter, that you saw that you thought it wasn't obvious that they'll probably go back to that later? And if that's the case, well, then why was it in there? Was there anything that you thought like, well, that's just bad storytelling through filmmaking?
It's hard because I feel like I'd have to watch it again.
Okay.
To like really get a sense of what's there and what's not, and what like I wasn't paying attention, and so like it didn't come through.
Go ahead and start.
I totally
we'll
agree with you. What was that?
Go ahead and start. We'll wait.
Oh yeah. But I totally agree with you on the Harry Potter movies. I mean, I would see the movies and I'd be like, I don't understand how anyone who hasn't read the books can follow some of the stuff that they're doing in the movies, because
I actually want to do this exact experiment that we're doing with Lord of the Rings with somebody who's never read Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And to have them answer like almost that one basic question, like, I'm sure you can follow the main story through, but from chapter to chapter, as you look for like, okay, now we're over the course of 3 movies and 4 movies. What about from what you've already seen? Does it seem like has really kind of fallen off the rails as they continue with the main through story. Yeah, I want to do that exact thing, but that's an even bigger commitment. Even though you got 3 long movies, that's 8.
It's a lot, yeah.
No,
but I always felt like Harry Potter movies to me are like, oh, you can see some of the stuff in the books on like rendered on screen. Like that's the only, I don't know, like that's kind of fun. But yeah, to me the movies are like, I don't know why anyone would just see those and not read the books, because the books have so much other stuff going on. But yeah, I think to me the biggest thing was not plot. Like I could follow that. It was the character the fleshing out of the characters. Like it was hard for me to understand everyone's motivations. I felt like I like missed backstory a lot of the time. Like I was like, did they really explain like why these characters are doing what they're doing? Or they felt very shallow to me. If that makes sense. So less plot and more character. Yeah.
I thought I remember even seeing it in the first few times, thinking something that stuck out like a sore thumb was they take like 2 sentences to establish the idea. All right, dwarves and elves really don't like each other.
Yeah.
That's it, and go.
Yeah. And to me, I probably even missed that sentence. Like, I didn't totally understand the relationship between the different races, quote unquote, of people. Yeah. Because it did seem like sometimes they were friends with the elves, and sometimes they seemed mean, and like, but they were all white, so that seems like a signal that they were good, you know? Like, they were all like glowy, and usually glowy means that you're a good person in movies. Yeah, so like, yeah, the relationships between things and character backstories was the thing I was really like, I feel like I'm missing something.
I'm trying to think, did they flesh that out later on, guys? Back me up.
They do in The Hobbit.
Yeah, but not so much like to really get into it. Yeah, you need The Hobbit, but I don't know, Mike, because I know you've read most of this stuff too. Like I think you almost need like the Silmarillion and all the like supplemental stories and everything.
They don't even flesh out in these movies, even in the extended editions or anywhere that I can think of, the difference between the high elves and the wood elves.
No, they definitely don't make any of those distinctions.
I didn't even know those were both a thing. So
yeah. This movie's just like an elf is an elf is an elf. Some of them just happen to live in different places.
Yeah, okay. Rivendell are high elves. They are elder elves. They are kind of snooty, I guess is a good way to put it.
Okay. It's like a class distinction.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah, whereas the woodland elves are warriors. Would be the way I would put the woodland elves. You see with Legolas, he's a woodland elf, so he's
the warrior, the fighter, the skill, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, Brian, you haven't read the books either, have you?
I've not.
Did you feel like the first time you watched it, like you were missing something?
See, now I'm trying to remember because I saw them in the theater.
So long ago.
So yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, I mean, I could relate to a lot of stuff you're saying. Like, I got the basic plot in this specific instance too. Yeah, I could see where like the different classes of elves I didn't get the first time I watched it. I've seen it enough times that I've sort of inferred that from watching it multiple times. But yeah, first time through, I think that probably went over my head.
I can remember the first time I watched it. Getting to the end finally, and even after all that time watching it, getting to that end and saying, wait, this is where they end this movie?
I think she said that exact thing to me in a text message.
Yeah. I did. I was like, that's the end? I was like, what an anticlimactic ending.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I understand it's like one long story, but you still don't want to end on like a cliffhanger or something.
Well, I also thought it was strange because you do like finally get to the big build-up action sequence of the story. Like it's obviously the thing they were banking on. It was the thing they were banking on people talking about when they left the theater. But once it's over, they like decompress, and like 5 minutes later, the movie's over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they just hit a stop point, the jump off point to the next one. Like you said, it's not necessarily a cliffhanger. It's not. It doesn't feel organic. It doesn't feel natural. The battle is over. They go away. Okay, so everyone is split up. They exited stage right. We exit stage left.
Yeah.
Almost literally, 2 sides of the river. And that's it. Okay. All right. Sam
Steph,
almost
this is why
drowns.
This is why you watch the marathon, so you have intermission at this point.
Yeah.
gearing up for a movie too.
Yeah.
I think I'd need other people here to be able to do a marathon. I don't think I could do it by myself.
Not if you have like 3 bottles of wine with you as you're watching the movie.
I'll fall asleep. Yeah, I didn't make it through the whole thing in one sitting because I wanted to watch Saturday Night Live on Saturday, so I had to watch that. I finished it on Sunday morning.
# priorities.
Yeah.
And I can see, especially if that's something that you're starting on a Saturday evening at all. Like, yeah, your only hope is to start at like 1 p.m. if you hope to get through it all like uninterrupted.
Honestly, the whole trilogy's become my sick movies. If I get sick and I'm laying in bed all day, it's going on. Like, that's what I'm watching for the whole day. I'm just going to watch it. I don't care how much I fall asleep or shit, because I'm just going to watch it again the next day while I'm still sick, and that's what I missed. I just let it roll, just let the whole thing roll, and it's just like,
Yeah, I totally get it. That's what I do with Gilmore Girls. So.
I don't know. Anything else specific that we want to touch on or talk about? I didn't really prepare too many questions because I figured Josh and Mike, you guys had a lot of questions.
So going forward, do you see yourself being Team Gimli or Team Legolas? I have to know.
I don't even know what that means. Which ones are they?
No, that's fine, because I was just, before you answer that, I will say that was my biggest problem getting into these movies initially, and that's why I say like Two Towers. If Two Towers wasn't as good as I perceive it to be, I don't know if I would have cared to finish the trilogy, because my biggest hang up was, so I'm in a fantasy world that I don't know. I have multiple races of beings, multiple civilizations and societies within each of those beings. I have words and places that I can't keep straight. And that was my biggest problem with Game of Thrones. It still is. I can follow the story, but if you ask me where someone is from, to name where they're from, the country that they represent, most of the time even their name, I don't know. I can follow it, but I think that was the biggest problem for me watching Fellowship the first time, is, like you said, like I barely remember anybody's name. I don't really quite understand why it matters where they're from or what that's called. So it's definitely, I completely understand why it would be, maybe hard to like use this as a springboard.
Okay. Wait, who are those two people?
Yeah. Coming back around.
Boromir, not Boromir, I'm sorry. Legolas was Orlando Bloom, the elf.
Okay.
And Gimli is the dwarf.
The dwarf. Wait, which ones were the dwarves?
With his
axe.
axe.
There's only one, really. I mean,
there's only one.
Well, I mean, there was a few that stood around in
with the axe.
one moment, but other than that,
short guy with the. Why can't I not remember who that is?
With the beard.
Wait, is he the? There's the hobbits, the elves.
The big beard, John Rhys Davies.
The big beard. Okay. Oh my god, I don't know. See, I felt like I didn't even totally understand Orlando Bloom's character. I was like, he seems to just have appeared and joined the group. I don't really understand his backstory.
At that point of Fellowship, that's fair. I'm trying to think of that same way too. He's just the badass with a bow.
They put him a lot in the Hobbit movies for a lot of times no apparent reason, but a lot of the reason why he's there is in the Hobbit.
Because he's not in the Hobbit. That's why.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
I know. I feel like I'm a terrible guest. I should have watched it twice.
I don't know if you weren't really feeling it the first time, I don't know if I'd suggest you to it for another 3 hours. So that's fair.
So,
all right.
And I would also say the point you've made several times, Steph, about the characterization and the relationships and whatnot. Now that especially they've kind of splintered and segmented, each of these smaller groups, it's much easier to show a growth of relationship of the individual and among them as a smaller group. Because when you had 9 of them, at one point, nobody could have enough priority to really tell me, like, that was a hard thing to get into, is they don't explain well why I should care about any one of them as an individual. And you kind of get a sense of what the main mission is, but all you see is this big group.
Yeah.
And that definitely, I honestly do. From a filmmaking perspective and the stuff that you're saying, I think you will enjoy Two Towers legitimately a lot more. You still might not really dig the main like fantasy aspect, and you're obviously not going to escape that part of it. But it's, I think, just a more enjoyable movie because they're able to get you to understand why everybody's important in their own right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I can see that.
I think your biggest takeaway from Fellowship, if you're going forward with the series, is do you feel like Boromir did enough to redeem himself?
I don't know.
That's fair.
I feel like you can't ask me any good questions because I feel like I was like watching this movie. I felt like the whole time I was watching it, I was like, I feel like I've missed something. Like that was how my feeling the entire movie. So I feel like I could never grasp totally what was going on, and I felt a little unmoored, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And then I felt really bad because I was like, I should be watching this closer because I'm going to have to answer these questions. And so I feel like I would need to watch it again, or maybe watch the whole thing and then go back and watch this one to really understand like what's going on. I think
if you feel the need to rewatch, I would finish the trilogy first and then rewatch again.
Yeah.
It'll definitely energize you to watch this movie again more, which you're not going to get without that, I don't think.
Yeah.
All right, so I have another question then too.
Okay.
When Gandalf fell in the cliff and
spoilers.
I didn't do the spoiler warning.
I saw that happen.
But was
is somebody going to listen to this podcast who hasn't seen Lord of the Rings?
I mean, we could throw the spoiler warning up at some point. I've already
do it now. Throw it up now.
now that we've said what happens, just throw it in. Being ingrained in pop culture and stuff, did you know that was going to happen? Was that a genuine surprise for you when that point happened?
Oh no, I did know that was going to happen because I felt like it was very early for him to have something bad happen to him.
Okay.
Because he seems like a very main character to me from what I've heard about the movies. Okay. So then I was like, is he really dead? Is he going to come back? Like,
well, that we won't answer for you.
Yeah, but it seemed like a thing where I was like, I don't know. I mean, it seems like it's not really gone forever.
Okay, yeah, I just didn't know if this movie had any actual genuine surprises for you while you were watching it.
That one guy died. That was surprising.
Sean Bean, who dies in everything.
Boromir.
Yes. Okay. Yes, I was surprised that he died. I was sad for that. I'm sad about that.
All right, so we got some general emotion. Good general emotion from you for this one, yeah.
He's the meme guy. I didn't expect he became the most well known to someone who doesn't know anything about these. How could he be the one that dies?
He is the guy who is really cool that always dies earlier than you expect.
Yeah.
In everything that he's ever in.
And if he doesn't die earlier than you expect, he'll probably die at the end anyway.
Yes. GoldenEye, I'm looking at you.
See Black Death and GoldenEye.
I haven't seen either of those movies. But yes.
So we definitely need a spoiler warning there for those ones.
Yes.
That's okay.
Because GoldenEye is only 22 years ago.
If you want to talk about pop culture blind spots, I've seen 0 James Bond movies.
I had a feeling that was something you'd avoid.
I've seen the first 20 minutes of the first Daniel Craig one.
Okay, so you've picked the best James Bond movie to watch there, but...
Whoa.
Yeah, see, I'm not a huge... Whoa. No, I wouldn't say, not that I'm not a huge fan, but I've seen like the first 3 Sean Connerys and the Daniel Craigs, and that's it. So I get this big gap in between that I still haven't got to, but I actually think Skyfall is the best that I've
Casino Royale is the best James Bond movie. Fight me.
I will take that challenge, and I will tell you Live and Let Die shits all over it.
I have seen all of the Austin Powers movies.
So. Oh, you're halfway there.
Basically seen them.
Okay, so that's fine. So I didn't start watching James Bond at all until just before Skyfall came out, and I did watch Casino Royale, and Quantum of Solace. And then Austin Powers started to make a lot more sense. So you might have already found your inroad a little bit. If you ever try to give those a shot, you might think, okay, so all I have to do is look for all those things that finally fill in why Austin Powers, did what they chose to do.
I feel like Mike is making a mental note of when to have a James Bond marathon to have you over, Josh, so that you can go through. all these movies
No. I have the box set of all of them. You're welcome to borrow it and watch any that you want to catch up on.
We have them all. Sarah's had them for years. We tried when we first met to start watching through them, and it just like tapered off, and then we never remember that we have them.
There's a couple to pull out. Live and Let Die is definitely one to pull out. It's kind of like James Bond and the Cajun Bayou. It's pretty awesome. And if you've watched the Connery ones already, then you're not missing a whole lot. Roger Moore was like, but Live and Let Die's there. And just for a good laugh, watch Moonraker. It's friggin' hilarious.
Does that actually take place in space?
Parts of it.
Oh, sweet. Anything that they put in space in a franchise eventually, like Jason X. I think Leprechaun 4, if I'm not mistaken, is just called Leprechaun in Space.
They may as well have called this James Bond in Space. I'm pretty sure that's where the Dr. Evil moon base comes from. Or little moon unit Zappa.
That was the James Bond franchise's answer to Star Wars. Star Wars made a shit ton of money. They needed to make a sci-fi spin-off for it, so they put James Bond in space to capitalize on Star Wars.
Gotcha.
Makes sense. I have played GoldenEye, the game, so...
It's also one of the better movies.
You know the plot of the movie. You're done.
Basically seen the movie. I should just come to Pittsburgh and have a movie marathon with all of you.
That is totally fine.
We always need an excuse for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike has the theater room. We'll just cram in. Although, if Apollo's there, I don't know how many people we could fit.
You forget the other one now too, right?
Yeah. Now you have the other. You have two of them.
But I don't know how big he's going to be. He's
right. He's one that is not done growing. So you don't. So yeah, a little insight. So Mike has bears for pets.
Okay.
Aww.
Listen. I wish I had bears. Okay, because that would be even better security.
Yeah. Other than that,
I want to get a dog.
Other than that consideration, we can definitely. So you can finish the trilogy there in you're in St. Louis or
St. Louis, yeah.
Yeah. You can finish the trilogy there, and then I guess at this point maybe do all the theatrical versions. I don't know if it really matters whether you do the extended versions of the other two or not, but finish that and then come back to Pittsburgh, and then we'll all reconvene in Bradley's basement for another marathon again in the theater room.
Wait. We're gonna do the same exact marathon as last time?
At this point, I think we should branch out. We should branch out. If Steph has enough stuff on her list she needs to get through, I think we can find something else to watch.
Or I'll come visit for a big movie premiere, and I'll go see that.
Mr. Rogers. Comes out next fall.
I'm excited for that movie. Did you see the other Mr. Rogers documentary? It was so good.
Yes, I did.
I still have to see that.
It's great. It's not even, it's so good. It's not, it doesn't matter if you're from Pittsburgh. It doesn't matter anything. It's just, it better frickin' win things.
I cried so much. It was the day after we had to put my dog to sleep. And I just needed a catharsis of crying. It's just crying.
It's just so damn good. And I actually got to see Tom Hanks. Obviously, he's in Pittsburgh filming this biopic movie of Mr. Rogers. And so he's also part of a voting effort, non-profit campaign type thing. So since he's in the city and he's part of that already on National Voter Registration Day, he did an event in Pittsburgh.
Whoa.
So we went down to the Soldiers and Sailors Museum. Well, me and one of my coworkers, and we just had to sit through a couple other kind of local people talking about things. But he was the keynote speaker and did 25 minutes on.
That's so cool.
Framing his speech around the preamble of the Constitution. just kind of went off from there. But like, it didn't even seem like he was going from notes. Like, he knows the preamble by heart and just kind of riffed the whole thing. Like, you could tell he had like a framework in mind, but he just it was all just like, you know, stream of consciousness and just kind of went off. It was a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
They're also filming Mindhunter out my way again.
Oh yeah, that's right.
We went to see Venom, and
do you live close to Washington and Jefferson?
No. There was a few scenes they filmed where we used to live in Oakland, near the Oaks Theater. We lived next door to it, and we didn't actually live there still when they did it.
I did a job interview at Washington and Jefferson. They told me that they'd shot some of Mindhunter on campus, on their campus. So,
so that was kind of recent then, like in the last 2 years.
Yeah, I was I was second, I was second for that job. I almost got it. I would have moved to Pittsburgh and hung out with you guys. Yeah, I was really sad about that one. But yeah, that was in January that I was there for that.
So
that was the last time I was in Pittsburgh.
So the hell doesn't want to hire a Doc Brown? Come on, it's a no-brainer.
I know. I think they wanted somebody more social media than me. Anyways, whatever. I'm not still bitter about it.
Let me just have this wine. They literally had to postpone the sheriff's sale of Century 3 Mall because Mindhunter was using some of the space to shoot there for a couple weeks.
Nice.
This past summer.
Okay, well, you all need to go find Jonathan Groff and get me his autograph because he is my idol and I love him.
You're out by Century 3, Josh. That's mission
Anyways.
accepted.
I actually need to finish Mindhunter. I haven't finished the first season yet.
I'm not going to mention that to him.
This is for a fan who hasn't seen the whole show.
But tell him that I loved him in Hamilton and Glee and Spring Awakening. So
you got all that? You taking notes?
She's got a good sense of your
love his
portfolio.
Broadway work. Yeah.
There's just a lot of things streaming right now, and she hasn't had time for all of it. You know how it is.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, sorry, I've gotten us off track.
Yeah, I feel like the Lord of the Rings discussion has since ended, so I think we should wrap this up.
Now I really want to come visit. See, I've drank half this bottle of wine, and now I'm like, oh my god, you guys, I love all of you. I want to come hang out.
We talk all about the hobbits.
All right, so anything, Josh, Mike, you guys have any more questions for her?
I would say, was there any particular character that you found yourself 100% like actively, and you were cognizant of the fact that you like maybe did not give two shits about them, and you would have been like completely happy if they went away?
I feel like that way about Bilbo Baggins. He's like a really important character, but I was like, you seem really annoying. I don't like you at all. I want you to leave. Yeah, and Orlando Bloom's character, I didn't understand why he was there. Okay. I feel like they didn't explain him very well.
No, wait, just to clarify, do you mean Bilbo or Frodo?
Did I say no? I like Frodo.
Okay.
Bilbo.
Okay.
Bilbo Baggins.
Yeah. Okay.
Because he was just obnoxious the whole time. He'd like been already fucked up by the ring, and he was just annoying every time he was on screen.
He's kind of a dick in Fellowship.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Then I was trying to remember that I like Martin Freeman, and so like to connect back to him that way. I don't know. It's hard because I like didn't connect to any of the characters super well.
Yeah.
But I would say that character was the most where I was like, I know I'm supposed to care about him, but I just can't stand him every time he's on screen.
All right, so we've got the baseline for where Steph is at right now. Steph, are you planning to watch the other two, or are you going to cut your losses and be done? Because I'm not going to force it on you.
I feel like I have to keep going, at least to see if it gets better.
Okay.
I feel like, I mean, you finally, gave in. You found your gateway drug inside. Yeah, like if you don't do it now, would you ever?
Yeah, exactly.
Electively, and if you probably, do you think you're going to be able to and have the motivation to go on to the second chapter soon? Because if you don't, I feel like it'll wane, and at the very least, even though after a first viewing of a movie like this, you don't retain a whole lot of detail. I mean, I'm sure you remember the main plot and kind of generally what happened, but the longer you go without moving on to the next chapter, you're much more prone to forget.
Yeah,
everything.
For sure.
So what Josh is saying is finish that bottle of wine,
I will
start
probably,
Two Towers.
Not tonight. I'll probably watch it next weekend. I mean, this is the good thing about not having any friends and just have been dumped. Like, I don't have anything to do on the weekend, so I'll probably watch it next weekend.
You can always come back to us. We're here for you.
Yeah.
I actually have some very good friends who I've known since high school who live in St. Louis who I have done Lord of the Rings marathons with in the past.
Okay. Tell them to call me.
I could pass along some contact info.
See?
So I'm
friends
going
already.
to try to watch it next weekend.
All right, so we will try to reconvene, and we'll see if your attitude has changed after watching Two Towers.
Are people going to want to listen to 3 episodes of this of me talking about
People,
watching Lord of the Rings?
People don't listen to this as it is, so it doesn't matter.
Okay.
I just put up what I want to at this point.
Okay, I'll let you know when I watch the next one.
Even though I'm on this episode, I'm going to listen back to it and then comment on the episode as I
Which is
listen
true.
to it.
He does that.
Thinking about like things that didn't occur to me to say now.
I can count on 2 of my friends to listen to this show religiously. And one of them is on this show.
My mom will listen to it. She listens to everything.
We got 3 people. We are setting records. All right, so sort of final thoughts. Steph, you're still unsure, leaning towards, didn't really care for Fellowship.
Yes.
Okay.
I feel like that's normal though.
First time viewer.
I really do.
Going in with anything, yeah.
That makes me feel better because I was like, I feel really bad that I don't like this movie. What am I not seeing that everybody else is like really into?
I think everyone else has an idea where the story was going and what to expect later on. Okay. So for this being a good setup for what's to come, it works. But it is very bloated. The pacing's kind of slow.
Yeah.
Not really knowing what to expect. So yeah, I think the action and everything picks up definitely in the next one.
Yeah, very much. Because Brian, you said, and Mike, did you do the same thing? Did you both saw Fellowship in theaters the first time it was out?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. I did not. I didn't really care about anything. Same as Steph. Like, I didn't really lean toward fantasy or anything like that at all at that at the age at the time that it was actually released. So I think I rented it on VHS.
Oh, now you're showing your age.
Frick yeah.
From Blockbuster? Was it Blockbuster?
I mean, there was a Blockbuster in Penn Hills, so it could have been. But there was. I mean, it's hard to believe there was ever one video rental store available, let alone several options within your immediate town area.
That's true.
But there were at the time, so I don't quite remember specifically where we got it from. But yeah, it was like the August in between. So they all came out in December in consecutive years. Yeah. So if I remember, it was August after it came out.
Okay.
So it was definitely before, because I did see Two Towers that following December in theaters.
Yeah. Okay.
And I almost didn't want to, because I'm like, you remember we saw that first one, right? we did watch it, and now.
So for you, Josh, Two Towers was the turning point for you to bring you around to this.
Literally and entirely. I thought it was that good just as like a standalone movie. Like, you obviously need the first chapter for what you're watching to make sense. But I liked it enough that I was actually really like converted overnight. Now, I know not everyone's going to have that reaction, but just to, kind of paint that perspective of this is how I came into all this. And by the time I did get through the second chapter, I was like, oh, okay, so all of this actually can be interesting. Great. Good to know.
Okay.
So hopefully we haven't overhyped the next chapter for you, Steph. Hopefully it's just, you're not going in with this high expectations now. And then.
Oh, I'm not. I'm going in with very low expectations.
Okay, that's a good way to go. Yep.
And I'll be pleasantly surprised if I like it.
Yes, correct. Mike, you have anything to add?
Just that for me, like Josh was talking about the Two Towers being that taking off point, and it really hooked him. Personally, the entire scene with Isildur and Sauron in Fellowship is what hooked me for the rest of the movies, because I said, I have to see what happens and if that motherfucker comes back and what happens with that, and I have to see this giant battle scene.
So you were in from the prologue.
Right, but that's just me in general, is like, I'm a Rocky IV fan because it's like, it's not the best movie, but it's fucking Drago, man. We got to see this battle happen. And, they built that up a lot in the beginning there. Mm-hmm. And that was enough for me to say, like, all right, I'm going to watch all these one way or the other. So, that for me was the hook for the series. The movie itself, yeah, it still wasn't as good as the others, obviously, but yeah.
Okay, cool.
And maybe it inherently, maybe Two Towers inherently benefits from the effect that Fellowship seems to have on just about every first-time viewer who's not already in the bag for fantasy or read the books or anything. That I think a lot of people really, really do come out with not a glowing feeling about it, and so the bar is already kind of set low, and so maybe it does benefit from going in low already. But like I said, I think it's very, very redeeming.
So there you go. Hopefully we've got you set and prepared for the next one, so you have something to look forward to.
I feel very prepared.
Nice. So have you, the friends of yours that have been trying to get you to watch these for years, have you told them that this is what you're doing, or are they going to be surprised when this hits the interwebs that, hey, Steph Brown watched a Lord of the Rings movie?
Well, it's mostly my ex, so he's not going to know.
Fair enough.
He was always very mad at me that I wouldn't watch it. I was like,
Well, now you can do it just to spite him.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does feel like that. Like, I'm like, haha, fucker, you should have stayed with me another year. You could have gotten to me when I watched Lord of the Rings.
But then you can.
I'll tell my.
But then you can also lie and say, "I finally saw it and I loved it, but I'm not loving it with you."
Yeah, exactly.
You're not benefiting from me liking this so much.
Yep, that's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna just send him a link to the episode and be like, haha, look at this. He's gonna be like, why are you sending this to me? Please don't talk to me ever again.
Now that we got the PSA out of the way.
What?
Now that we got the PSA out of the way for the ex-boyfriend, so he knows.
Yeah.
But if you do that, you should send it to him in a letter through the mail.
With just the link.
Yeah, just nothing more than
yes.
a web address link written on a piece of paper in an envelope.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna do that now. It won't be creepy.
With a laughing face at the bottom.
Won't be creepy at all. Please do not contact me.
All right, so we'll devise more plans on how you should send this out once we're done here.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, so if you've enjoyed the show, please stop by iTunes. You can leave us a 5-star rating and review. Be sure to share, subscribe, favorite the show wherever you decide to listen. You can now find us on Google Play for all you Android listeners out there. As always, you can find us on Facebook. Search Bry Guy and Super Friends, or go to facebook.com/Bry Guy Super Friends. You can send us questions, comments, topic suggestions, any of that stuff there. I do have a valid email address that I don't check, bryguysuperfriends@gmail.com, or you can tweet us on Twitter at BGSuperFriends. I don't check that either, but I'll find it eventually. On behalf of Steph, Josh, Mike, and myself, thank you for listening, and we will talk to you next time.